Welcome to Advanced Dual Health and Life Coach Certification. Today we're going to discuss ethical considerations and professional standards, specifically managing conflicts of interest professionally and transparently. Let's start with an introduction. Conflict of interest can arise in any professional relationship, but in life and health coaching, a field rooted in trust and personal development, they present unique challenges. A conflict of interest occurs when a coach's personal, financial, or professional interests intersect in ways that could compromise their objectivity or the client's progress. For instance, promoting a product tied to a personal profit without disclosure, or working with close acquaintances where boundaries can blur, and there are clear examples of such situations. Left unaddressed, conflicts of interest can erode trust, harm in the coach-client relationship, and damage the coach's reputation. Here are some key points of learning. What is a conflict of interest in life and health coaching? By definition, a conflict of interest arises when personal, professional, financial interests could potentially interfere with a coach's ability to remain unbiased. Here are some examples of common scenarios in coaching. Promoting products or services the coaches benefit from financially, in other words, selling supplements or wellness programs. Coaching a client with whom the coach has a dual relationship, a relative, a business partner, or a close friend. And referring clients to specific providers or professionals without disclosing partnerships or agreements. Why is this important? Recognizing conflicts of interest allows coaches to maintain professionalism. It protects clients from biased advice and upholds the coach's reputation for ethical practice. Ethical guidelines and standards. The role of governing organizations. Organizations such as the ICF provide ethical frameworks to guide coaches in addressing conflicts. These include promoting transparency, maintaining professionalism, and adhering to confidentiality agreements. Key ethical principles for handling conflicts. Integrity, always acting in a way that is honest and morally sound. Transparency, openly communicating any potential or actual conflicts with the client. And client-centered focus, ensuring that all actions are taken in the client's best interests, even if it means declining opportunities that offer personal gain. Steps for identifying conflicts of interest. Self-reflection. Regularly review your Regularly review your personal and professional interactions. Ask questions like, is my advice influenced by essential? Stop. Self-reflection. Regularly review your professional and personal interactions. Ask questions like, is my advice influenced by external incentives? Could a particular relationship affect my objectivity in coaching? For example, a coach who owns a wellness product line should ask whether promoting the product aligns with the coach's goals or merely benefits their own business. Client context analysis. Examine each client's relationship for dual roles, working with family members or colleagues. Coaching a friend through a weight loss program may unintentionally involve emotional attachments that could cloud objectivity. And evaluate financial ties. Be mindful of partnerships, investments, or external incentives tied to coaching services. Take a look at this diagram on the right for various conflicts of interest. How to address and manage conflicts of interest. Immediate disclosure. If a potential conflict is identified, the most ethical approach is to disclose it to the client transparently. Example in practice. When partnering with a fitness center that compensates you for referrals, communicate this clearly to clients before suggesting the facility. Seek client consent or agreement. After disclosure, involve the client in deciding on the best course of action. This demonstrates respect for their autonomy. For example, a coach selling meal plan might say, I offer meal plans through my company, but you are free to explore options elsewhere. Would you like more details to make an informed decision? Opt for neutral solutions. If conflicts cannot be resolved, act in a way that prioritizes objectivity. Creating and maintaining transparency. Policy development. Include a conflict of interest clause in client agreements. This outlines how conflicts are identified, disclosed, and addressed within the coaching relationship. The example clause, if a potential conflict of interest arises, I will disclose it and discuss alternatives with you to uphold our agreement's integrity. Regular communication. Revisit agreements and continuously update clients about any changes that may impact their coaching experience. For example, during a follow-up coach session, a client might or a coach might ask, does this arrangement still feel comfortable for you? Should we reevaluate any aspect of our agreement? Handling unavoidable conflicts. Number 1, documenting decisions. Keep a written record of identified conflicts, disclosure discussions, and agreed upon solutions. This protects both the coach and the client if concerns arise later. Example, if a conflict is managed through a new agreement, keep digital or physical documentation of the sign changes. Seek peer or supervisory support. When in doubt, consult an experienced coach, supervisor, or legal advisor. For example, a coach unsure about accepting a financial incentive tied to a client referral may ask a mentor within their professional circle for advice. And prioritize client autonomy. Avoid overly steering clients towards specific services or decisions, even unintentionally. Ongoing best practices for conflict prevention. Establish clear boundaries. From the start, clarify the coaching relationship scope and boundaries to avoid misunderstandings. For example, avoid dual roles by maintaining professional exclusivity. Continuing professional development. Regularly attend ethics workshops or webinars to stay informed of evolving conflict of interest guidelines. Enroll in courses on legal practices related to coaching agreements. And adapt agreements for changing circumstances. Reassess agreements whenever the coaching relationship or external obligations evolve. For example, if a client becomes involved in a mutual business project, use an updated agreement to formalize new roles. The importance of trust and perception, building long-term client trust. Conflict transparency isn't just an ethical obligation, it's a tool for strengthening relationships. Clients are more likely to respect and continue working with a coach who prioritizes integrity. For example, prompt and honest disclosure of minor financial incentive can demonstrate a commitment to fairness, turning potential issues into opportunities to prove professionalism. Protecting the coaching professional integrity. Coaches collectively benefit when industry standards emphasize transparency and integrity, fostering trust across client relationships worldwide. The best practices for coach. Adopting consistent best practices provides a sturdy ethical foundation and ensures conflict of interests are managed responsibly. Develop and include conflict of interest policies. What this entails, write a section in your coaching agreement highlighting how conflicts can be identified, disclosed, and resolved. An example clause, all financial or professional connections that may influence coaching recommendations will be disclosed promptly, and alternate options will be provided where available. Why is this important? It sets clear expectations and fosters trust. Foster continuous transparency. The action, disclose potential or actual conflicts as they appear. I received compensation from the fitness center I recommended. If this raises concerns, suggest other facilities. And why it's important? This cultivates long-term trust by proactively addressing doubts. Establish boundaries early. The action, maintain exclusive professional relationships where necessary. And declining to coach a business partner to prevent an overlapping interest might be an example scenario. Why it's important? It protects objectivity and professionalism. Engage in continuous ethics training. The action, stay updated on ethical guidelines through workshops or coaching certifications. For example, participate in the ICF webinars focused on evolving ethical standards. Why is this important? It keeps your practice aligned with the latest expectations and safeguards decisions. And use neutral third-party referrals. When conflicts cannot be avoided, refer clients to unbiased parties. An example scenario, recommending another coach for a relative or a close friend. And why it's important? This reinforces impartiality while protecting the integrity of the relationship. Number 6, keep detailed documentation. Document all disclosures, decisions, and follow-ups to ensure clarity and accountability. Logging client discussions regarding conflicts in their decisions and meeting notes. Why it's important? It provides a trail of ethical compliance and transparency. Revisit agreements periodically. Regularly review and update client agreements to reflect changing circumstances. Adding a clause for new collaborations or business changes tied to a client's interest. Why is this important? Adapt to evolving relationships while safeguarding ethics. Seek peer feedback. Collaborate with other experienced coaches or supervisors to discuss difficult scenarios. For example, consulting another coach about accepting paid partnerships that may influence client outcomes. And why is this important? It gathers new perspectives and prevents individual blind spots. Align recommendations with client needs. Ensure all products, services, or referrals meet the client's goals first. The supplement I recommend here has worked for others like you, but if you'd prefer to explore a supplement-free approach, we can prioritize that. Why it's important? It aligns client autonomy with ethical coaching practices. Model ethical behavior for the industry. Be a role model by consistently practicing transparency and integrity. sharing your approach and learnings and ethics with peer networks or coaching communities, and contribute to strengthening professional standards across the industry. Practice examples and scenarios, coaching a friend. Blurred boundaries could impact objectivity. Given our relationship, I think it's best to refer you to someone else. Another scenario, promoting products. The conflict, financial ties within a company could lead to perceived bias. The solution, to be transparent, I receive compensation from this company. Would you like to explore alternative resources? Scenario, dual professional roles. The conflict, coaching a client who is also your employee. The solution, to ensure fairness, I recommend working with another coach while we maintain our workplace collaboration separately. By following these quotes and best practices, coaches can confidently manage conflicts of interest. Closing thoughts. Effective conflict of interest management reflects not only a coach's dedication to ethical practices, but also their respect for the client's autonomy and progress. By adhering to transparent communication, following rigorous ethical guidelines, and tailoring solutions to each unique situation, coaches can foster lasting relationships rooted in trust and professionalism. Mastering these skills ensures a positive impact not only on the client's personal growth, but also on the broader coaching industry's values and standards. Here are some summary tables to review what you just learned. Table 1, understanding conflicts of interest. Look at each aspect, the definition, common scenarios, importance, ethical challenge, and connection to coaching. Table 2, ethical guidelines for conflict management. Review each ethical principle important and how it's applied. You'll see here integrity, transparency, client-centered focus, confidentiality, and professionalism. Table 3, steps for identifying conflicts of interest. Take a moment to review each step, the description, and example. In the steps, you will see self-reflection, client context analysis, partnership assessment, evaluate changes over time, and peer guidance. Table 4, techniques for conflict management. Here you will see the technique, the purpose, and the example. Take a look at each immediate disclosure, client collaboration, documentation, neutral recommendations, and regular agreement reviews. Table 5, preventative best practices. Review each practice, benefit, and example. Of the practices included on this table, you'll see include conflict clauses, boundary setting, continuous ethical training, peer support networks, and self-audits. Here are some multiple choice questions. Question 1. What is the main purpose behind managing conflicts of interest? The correct answer is C. Question 2. Which of the following situations requires immediate disclosure to the client? Review options A through D. The correct answer is B. Question 3. Which quote best demonstrates a coach managing conflict of interest ethically? Review options A through D. The correct answer is B. Question 4. What is the benefit of including conflict clauses in coaching agreements? Review options A through D. The correct answer is C. And question 5. What is the best practice for managing conflicts of interest in coaching relationships? The correct answer is C. Regularly review and update agreements as circumstances change.